It is time again for Legal Talk right here on eRadio on a Wednesday morning, and I'm joined by Isabella Mazzone from Hahn Attorneys. She is one of the associate attorneys, and today, listen up if you're vegan especially. Very interesting topic that we will be discussing this week. A very big hello to you, Isabella.
Hello, Ian. How are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you doing? The weather's really strange here on my side.
Yeah, it's a bit depressing outside. I just got back from Zanzibar, so I'm a bit sad, but otherwise I'm well.
How lucky are you? I'm jealous.
Oh, very lucky. The tropical weather did me well.
Yes. Oh, lucky you. Lucky you. Back in South Africa, I would be depressed too, to be honest. But anyway, today we are talking about vegan products. And, I'm not a vegan myself, so it's very insightful for me. The first question, the topic of vegan product regulation in South Africa, it's been all over the news lately with various brands such as Fries and organizations such as ProVeg coming out and speaking to the media about their positions. What has caused all of this panic now around vegan and vegetarian products, Isabella?
Well, Ian, recently the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, which we just call DALRRD, recently released their controversial communique on Wednesday, the 22nd of June. And this communique dealt with the illicit use of product names exclusively prescribed for processed meat products in terms of their processed meat product regulations. And these regulations were published in October 2019. So DALRRD then stated that it's come to their attention that various meat analog products that are currently on sale in the local market are using these product names, which are actually prescribed for processed meats. They also stated that meat analogues must not use the product names prescribed and reserved for processed meat products, since the scope of the processed meat regulations does not include meat analogues. DALRRD also then stated that the assignee designated for inspections, which is the Food Safety Agency, would be conducting seizures in terms of their powers afforded to them in the APS Act, should they find these meat analog products with such prohibited naming conventions on the shelves, and that in terms of the Section 11 of the APS Act, that the sale of these products is actually considered as an offence.
Interesting. Now, what exactly is the meat analog that you're talking about, and which product names are prohibited?
So the term meat analog is actually defined in the processed meat regulations as something that can also be known as a meat substitute, mock meat, faux meat, anything like that, and consists of products that approximate the aesthetic qualities such as the texture, flavor, appearance, and any other chemical characteristic of a specific type of meat. And they are made from non-meat ingredients, sometimes without dairy, and are available in different forms. So in this communique, they actually made specific mention of product names and descriptions such as vegan, veggie biltong, mushroom biltong, plant-based meatballs, vegan nuggets, vegan barbecue ribs, quite an extensive list. Plant-based bratwurst, chorizo and red pepper vegetarian sausages, and plant-based chicken-style strips, when they were referring to examples of the types of names which were not permitted to be used on the labels of meat analog products. And interestingly enough, if you look at the R1283 processed meat regulations, they define processed meat as meat that has undergone any action that substantially alters its original state, including heating, smoking, curing, marinating, drying, maturing, any of those processes, but it excludes raw processed meat. And the terms that I just named before, as far as DALRRD is concerned, are reserved only for those products which fall into the processed meat definition. So this is because the processed meat regulations have various tables in the regulation which deal with the standards for the different classes of processed meat products. And in these tables, right at the end, they have a column named product name. And this column consists of names which include but not limited to certain examples of names for the various classes. And this makes it really difficult to have a complete list of names which cannot be used for vegan products. But to put it into perspective, this column does contain names such as biltong, bacon, carpaccio, pastrami, schnitzels, nuggets, Viennas, those kind of products, polony, salami. However, boerewors is not in this list because boerewors is its own separate product with its own separate regulations, as it's a raw processed meat product. So it's just important to note that the issue with boerewors is different. Boerewors is a clearly defined term in terms of the boerewors regulations, meaning that no product can use that name unless it complies with that definition. Whereas with the processed meat regulations, those names are just listed as examples and are not necessarily clearly defined as such. So it's quite interesting.
Very interesting. And you're making me hungry here at the same time. Isabella,
I luckily ate before this.
Yeah, well, you should have warned me. But anyway, what does this mean for South Africans who follow a vegan and vegetarian lifestyle, and also those who love eating their soy burgers and vegan boerewors and mushroom biltong?
Well, Jan, it's difficult to say what's going to happen exactly, as Dalrod have come back with different time frames now. But it seems to us that either favorite vegan products are going to disappear from the shelves because the smaller producers will not be able to afford to relabel their products, or they will continue to see their bigger branded products on the shelves with just new creative names. I mean, needless to say, a change is coming to their favorite products. So it's hard to say what is exactly in the works, as the department told the retailers and producers that they are permitted to submit new name proposals to them for approval. So it will be interesting to see what the department will and will not allow, especially due to the fact that there's no precise list of prohibited names.
Isabella, what caused this communique to be released?
Well, Ian, it's hard to say what exactly caused the communication and whether it was because of, the increase in consumer confusion due to the influx of vegan products on the market, some of which, by the way, are quite misleading in nature, others quite innovative. So I don't know. However, I think it's important to take note of the fact that this was not a new law coming in or a directive being issued by the department. This was merely a communication document to clarify the fact that the processed meat regulations do exist and that meat analog producers must take note of the reserved terms, as Dalrod will now be taking action against the products with these names. It still came, obviously, as quite a shock due to the fact that the processed meat regs have been enforced since 2019. And there was also previous communication sent out just this year, stating that they're now proceeding with developing new regulations for meat analog products due to feedback that they've had with industry and with stakeholders. I mean, these meetings have been happening over the past 2 years. So during the meeting that Dalrod held with the industry after this communication was released, they stated that the producers and the retailers already had the opportunity to comment on the regs before they were published in 2019. Obviously, there's still been huge debates about this, especially with respect to the fact that the meat analog producers understood that the processed meat regulations would have no effect on their products and, in fact, did not even apply to their products.
Isabella, what is going to happen to these products, and what should the manufacturers and the retailers do?
Well, a subsequent communication was actually released on the 27th of June by Dalrod, where they've now stated that, besides for the 30-day period in which the assignee is going to conduct like an extensive market survey and delay the seizure, which was agreed to in the meeting that Dalrod had with industry, the inspectors of the assignee will also be issuing directions to meat analog producers during this time in order for them to rectify the incorrect product names or descriptions on their labels and all their advertising, and allowing them a period of 30 days to do so. So manufacturers and retailers are now basically waiting with bated breath on these directions from the department. What we've recommended, and is important for the industry to take note, that if a directive is issued, it provides an opportunity to appeal the directive in terms of the appeal regulations. However, the appeal must be lodged within 10 days of the date of issue of the directive, and no extensions are possible. So we've been advising in the meantime that it would be wise for producers, especially to start developing new labels for submission to the department, or to submit their current labels for the products, which are in fact not misleading by nature in terms of the Act, just in order to obtain approval or advice and prepare for the enforcement to come. This would obviously give producers greater insight into the department's sort of idea of what is and what is not permissible.
Okay, and any further developments since the communique was released on the 22nd of June this year?
Well, besides for that second communication of 27th June, which I just discussed, the only other developments have been the rallying of various groups of manufacturers to either deal with this issue together, or those companies who have been dealing with the department individually. So, for example, ProVeg as an organization is leaning towards the route of court proceedings. And there are various other groups and companies who are also considering the litigation options and other dispute resolution processes available. As you can imagine, these producers and retailers feel victimized and are extremely frustrated by the current situation, as well as feel that the department is clamping down on vegan products specifically and unfairly, especially due to the fact that earlier in the year, a similar communique on vegan egg products was also released. So, I mean, obviously, there are some serious financial implications of the current developments, and that can't be denied or ignored. However, we believe that a balance must be struck between the producers who do take advantage of consumers through these misleading labels, as well as the strict interpretation of a regulation which could unfairly discriminate against vegan products.
Okay, so vegan and vegetarian lifestyles are global movements. So is this very issue happening elsewhere in the world, or is it just a South African problem?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, this is definitely a global, worldwide issue, which is fairly new. And legal departments all over the world are only really dealing with these issues now. So, for example, we saw very recently that France became the first EU country to ban the use of words like steak and sausage from being applied to plant-based food, according to their official decree published in June as well. And the decree was instituted to supposedly prevent consumer confusion as these meat analogues become more and more realistic. And the meat names facing prohibition in this ban were names such as sausage, steak, bacon. However, burger was exempt, as it does not implicitly refer to, one type of meat. Interestingly enough, the French Council took the decision to suspend the ban just recently, now on the 27th of July, due to the fact, much like our very own country, a very short time frame was afforded to the producers to actually implement it. Another example is India. So India introduced their first ever regulations for vegan products this year, which deals with the requirements that must be met as well as labeling. And India has taken a more progressive stance with its new regulations, mainly designed to ensure the products are just genuinely vegan. Obviously, this mainly due to the fact that the country has a history of vegetarianism, which obviously is reflected in the laws having more positive attitudes towards plant-based foods. But as you can see, the laws around the world are changing every day, and it's hard to say what's going to happen next.
Isabella, what would you say lies ahead in the future for vegan, vegetarian and meat analog products, specifically here in South Africa?
Well, as I discussed before, we are aware that the department is definitely developing a brand new set of regulations that deal with meat analog products. The assignee is also currently conducting their national market survey and scan, and it's hard to say what's going to come out from their findings. But retailers and producers have to keep their eyes open for new developments and also for possible directions from the department, especially, of course, due to the incredibly short period of 10 days that's afforded to them to actually launch an appeal.
Okay, and one more question. How does the Consumer Protection Act come into play when it comes to these products? So when it comes to the Consumer Protection Act, it's important to take note of the fact that Section 29 protects consumers from producers, importers, distributors, and retailers, as they must not market any goods in a manner that is reasonably likely to imply a false or misleading representation concerning those goods,
or in a manner that is misleading, fraudulent, or deceptive in any way, including in respect to the nature and properties of the very goods. So Section 41 of the CPA also specifically deals with false, misleading, and deceptive representations and states that when it comes to the marketing of any goods, the supplier must not, by words or conduct, directly or indirectly, express or imply a false, misleading, or deceptive representation concerning a material fact to a consumer. When it comes to what is considered false, misleading, or deceptive, the CPA states that it includes to falsely state or imply or to fail to correct an apparent misapprehension on the part of the consumer to the effect that any goods have ingredients, characteristics, benefits, qualities, or approval that they do not have, or are of a particular standard, quality, grade, or style. The CPA aspects come into play when the average consumer actually sees these products on the shelves and whether or not these products are likely to confuse the consumer when deciding on purchasing the product. Section 6 of the APS Act actually also deals with this issue and prohibits the use of false or misleading descriptions for products. So it's really important to take note of this when it comes to these products, because while some of them are very clearly marketed and labeled as vegetarian or vegan products, such as veggie burgers and Southern-style veggie nuggets, other products can be quite confusing to consumers, especially when placed on the shelves or fridges near the normal processed meat products. So consumers must also remember that they are able to complain about these confusing and misleading products by submitting their complaints through to our own advertising regulatory board here in South Africa, the ARB.
Okay, we can find their details online, I'm sure.
Yes, they have a very user-friendly website, and there you can submit complaints from their website.
Okay, fantastic. Isabella, this has been very interesting for vegans and non-vegans. Thank you so much for your insight and for your time this morning. And looking forward to chatting again soon.
Oh, no problem. Thank you very much. I'm glad you learned something new.
Yeah, very important. Every day we should learn something new. And the aim is to educate listeners, especially with legal talk, because there's so much going on. And now we know more about the vegan products, at least.
No, 100%. And I'm sure all the Woolies mommies and the Waterkloof mommies and that all want to know what's going on with their products. So I think it will be interesting to see the reaction.
Yeah, no, definitely. Isabella Mazzone from Hahn & Hahn Attorneys. She's an associate attorney. Thank you so much. And hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Ian. I appreciate it, and thank you for having me.
Are you or your business in trouble and struggling to find a solution? Call Hahn & Hahn Attorneys as we assist clients in finding solutions. We specialize in consumer and food law, commercial and construction law, forensic investigations and administrative law. Visit hahnlaw.co.za. That's HAHN. We assist clients nationwide. Hahn & Hahn Attorneys, because we care. Don't miss Legal Talk with Hahn & Hahn Attorneys, Wednesday mornings at 10 on eRadio.